Hi, I want to show you my finished Halloween journal. It's the first one that I ever make out of this theme, and I love it. I love it. I made it with some file folders, and I really like the way it turned out. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if you enjoy it too, follow me through my tutorial, and you can make one exactly the same. So this book is 5.5 by 8.5, and it's simple to make. So anybody, whether you're a beginner journal maker or not, you should be able to follow me step by step as I create this. I have made a tassel, which I show how I made it. I added a little something I had left over from last year, a little skeleton hand on here. The front cover is just a mixture of collage, and I have added some Mod Podge dimensional on top of here, and I don't know if you can see it as much, but okay, you can see the shine. I just find that it gave it a lift and highlighted certain things, and I highlighted certain bricks on there. This full page was done in a mixed media format with all different kinds of little things you'll see, but it was lots of fun to make. And I've covered the side and also the back. Now let's see the treasure inside. Onto my first page, I have my good old little spider here. I added a pocket in here, and these are the file folders, and there's a couple of cards here, tuck cards, but you could add whatever you wanted. If you wanted to add photos, you could use this as a photo album for your kids or grandkids or neighbor kids or whichever one. You could add that, or just for fun if you're going to a Halloween party. This is the back side, and this is the tab for it. And I did it all with the Apothecary Emporium package kit, and it's from Eco Papers. So I really liked it. I added some little witches that I had. Some are the little sequins, and I added some rhinestones to make them pop out a little bit. And I made some pockets over here. And this is, by the way, this is a 6 file folder journal, which would give it 12 pages and 24 sides. So these are another pockets that I've made, and again, all kinds of room for journaling, cards and journaling. You can journal cards here, and here we have just a scenery and so forth. And we have journaling cards. You can journal everywhere. And you have your good old spider webs with some spiders hanging in the center. You have your witch in the mirror and your skeletons. And again, your poison skeletons and so forth. All full of spooky little things here. And then we have the potion, the medicated potion. It's like the song Love Potion number 9. And here we have, I've used some of Bo Bunny's rub-ons for Halloween. And this is all within the pack. These are all Bo Bunny's rub-ons. And the pockets here. It's just a fun journal. And if you find you didn't have enough place for journaling, or you didn't want to use it as an album and wanted to use it as a journal, just add more journaling cards, more room to journal. That's all. You can journal all across here. All this, you can journal over that. Journaling cards, so forth. It was just such a fun thing to do. And I just added a little closure here. For my first one, I really have to admit I was a bit challenged, but once I got going, it came like second nature, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you'll join me in my tutorial on how to make one, and happy Halloween to all of you. This is Yvonne, and I'm signing off, and I hope to see you crafting soon. I am ready to make a Halloween journal with you guys today. And I'm getting out my good old colors of Halloween. And as we know, Halloween is not far away. It's actually about a month away now because we are the 23rd of September. So Halloween is not too far away. And I will be making this with the apothecary. I have such a hard time with that. Emporium paper. And this is a paper from Eco Park. And also some bits and pieces of Halloween ribbon and stuff that I have left over from last year. And also, I'm not sure I'll be using, but I've had this for a while from Bo Bunny, the rub-ons for Halloween. So I'm going to try that, and we are going to build ourselves a little book. So stay with me because we are going to have some fun. Okay, so to make this journal, you will need some type of heavy cardstock. It doesn't have to be super heavy, but you need something that will be able to be used for the cover, to have it heavy, so you can close it and it makes a sturdy cover. In this case, I have a 12 by 12 piece of chipboard, and that's all you need is one piece, because if you cut it properly, mark it properly, you can fit your spine and your cover. So you're going to need two pieces of 6 by 8.5, and you're going to need another piece of 2.5 by 8.5. Okay? So if you cut that and get yourself ready, I'll be with you momentarily. Okay, so I trust that you cut out your cover pieces, which is two pieces of 6 by 8.5. And for the spine here, you have a 2.5 inch by 8.5 inch. Okay? Now that you have that, we need to cover this. So we're going to cover this by taking two pieces of cardstock. I am making a Halloween or a fall season Halloween one. So you're going to take two pieces like so, and you're going to tape them together. So I have already, for the sake of time, added a piece of score tape, and I am going to add this right to the edge like this, and I now have a large piece to cover my journal with. Now what I'm going to do is take my scoreboard, and I am going to score, sorry for the noise there, I'm going to take my piece of cardstock and I am going to score 3/4 of an inch on two sides, this side and the long side. And this is what I am going to use. Now you know that this is not going to be long enough to do it all, but that's okay because I am going to flip it over like this, and I'm just going to score it down again like this. Okay, so you just do two sides. So let me recap this. After you've cut your cover stock for your journal, you will take two pieces of cardstock of whatever color you decide you're going to make your journal, and you're going to attach them together, and you are going to score 3/4 of an inch on two sides. So while you do that, I will be right back. Alright, now that you have put your cardstock together and you have scored it at 3/4 of an inch on two sides, that is going to be your guideline to add your cover. So you have your cover here, and what you're going to do is you're going to set it up right on the line. That's going to be your guide, and to square it off. And then you will take your spine and just a little bit, like I would say 1/8 of an inch, and then you can take your following piece and add it on the next side. So what you need to do now is you need to take your cover stock and you need to adhere it all the way around so you can now add it firmly onto your cover. Do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we should be, all of us, down to having adhere our card chipboard to the cover of our book. I'll tell you a little trick. You align it to your 3/4, and I've heard a lot along the way, well, I don't know how wide to leave it from, for the spine. If you have a bone folder, or, something around this thick, not like this, because that wouldn't work, but like if you have a straight bone folder like this, or if you don't, grab something. Here's another one that could work. This here, it's a little thick, but a bone, if you lay it down, it's going to be just the right size. Don't worry about being like an eighth or a little less than an eighth of an inch difference, as long as it's approximate, okay? I find that if you put it down and you just put your cardstock against it and align it to the bottom, it goes real quick. Just a tip. Okay, so now this is what we have. And what we want to do is we want to take on the fold and pull it up. And then we're going to take this side on the fold and we're going to bring it up like that. Okay? And you're going to see that with the cardstock, now that it is folded, scored, I mean, it's going to work really, really well. If you want to, you can now score at 3/4 of an inch here, because you're going to see this is way too much. And on this side is the same thing. This is what I do. After I've done this, I'll cut off the remainder just to remain 3/4 of an inch, so it'll be all the way the same to the side. So let's do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so all I did was to add this 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Is I just measured 3/4 of an inch roughly. I mean, you don't even have to do that, because when you cover it, it's going to be covered anyway. It just adds a little bit more finesse. But is it important? Not at all. So all I did was mark 3/4 of an inch. I put a pencil mark, 3/4 of an inch, pencil mark, and then I took my ruler and made a line and cut it with a pair of scissors. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm going to take my score and I am going to run it all the way to the top, just to kind of carve a little bit the cardstock. So when you put it across like this, it'll fold better. It just gives it a little bit of fold, okay? Now when we fold, you know that we're going to have a double here. We don't necessarily want that. So we're going to cut a piece off. You may have seen that before in other videos, just a little bit below. Okay, so you're going to do 4 corners like that. And this is just going to smooth out your corners a little bit better. It's going to kind of miter it, I guess, if you want to call it that. So we're done with this. And now, when we fold up our corners, like so, and I move this one in here, it'll just cut it. It'll just cut, it won't make it so bulky on the top. Okay, so let's put some adhesive all the way around and let's cover our book like you would do the old school books, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm assuming you've put all your tape behind your spine, which is where we're going to put our paper. You go on the opposite side, the back side of it, and you've put adhesive on every fold. Then now you will pull it off. And the reason I put up so much tape, and I think you should too if you can, is the fact that when we put a lot of tape, it's going to add it on, and it's going to be really tight, because our spines tend to be what takes the most abuse by flipping the pages over and over and over, and opening and closing and so forth. And the back end of your spines ends up being detached, and you end up having like a warped back end of a journal. And I find that if I use a good tape, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to have, I like the score tape, or whatever they call it, soup lawn or whatever, but I find that I love using this tape. I find it works well. But if you have a good adhesive tape in liquid, do it. I mean, you know, I'm just telling you what I'm using here. So now you're going to take your book, okay? So this is the outside, this is the inside. Now, the first long strip, okay, the first long strip here, you are going to align that right to the edge here, okay? So I want you to add it to the edge there. And you're going to notice also that it is a little shorter. So try to, the fold here will align with the fold, okay, on the edge. And you will kind of try to put it as center as possible, like that. And try to, like that, okay? And this piece here, if you pull it in, it should, everything should attach the same. And you're going to do the same thing with this piece here. You are going to add it on the opposite side, but at the same distance. And if you don't push hard on it, you should be able to lift it and put it back. And now this is going to be our initial spine. So if you add them on, the way I'm showing you, everything should fit, and you should be able to close your book, and you should have all your spines being able to fold one way and also to fold the opposite way. And this is going to be, I'm just making sure that everything is attached real well. And this is your book. And this is what I'm going to end up having. So now I'm going to get my pages, which is going to be, I'm going to design them as a file folder, and we're going to do it together. So stay tuned. Get yourself some more cardstock. Okay, so now that we've finished our cover at this point, we're going to put this aside. And now you are going to get yourself 6 pieces of cardstock. 6 pieces of cardstock, same color, and you're going to trim off 1/4 of an inch on the 8.5. So this is 8.5 by 11. You are going to trim it down to 8.25 on each piece. So you're going to have 6 pieces at the end that will be 8.25. This one here didn't trim properly, so I'm going to do it again. Here you go. So 8.25. So now I have 6 pieces that are 8.25 by 11. So now that I'm done with my cutting board right at the moment, I'm going to put this aside, and I am going to take my scoreboard. You're going to take your cardstock, and on the long side here, you are going to score each piece at 5.25. And I know you're going to say, well, it's not in the center. That's okay. When you get to fold them, one side will be shorter than the other, but that's the ideal. So score each and every one of them at 5.25. We are building our file folders at this point, is what we're doing. So take each piece and score it down. Your pieces are now 8.25 by 11, trimmed and scored at 5.25 by 11. And now that I have each one, I am going to fold them in half. So everybody can fold their pieces in half. And yes, you will see that it is longer on one side, but that's the way it should be. Okay, so take each piece that you have and fold it down. And our next step, once you fold it all down, you might as well take out your envelope maker, your punch board, which looks like this. This is mine. 123 makes boxes and punch boards, or you might have just a plain punch board, the first ones that they came up with. And that's going to be what we're going to use to make those, to facilitate, to make those envelopes. So you fold all your score, cut, score, and fold, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now you should have 6 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of cardstock folded in 2 at 5 1/4, which should leave you a lip on each one like this. Okay? These are going to become your file folders. So now, if you have a punch board like this to make envelopes, it's a great thing to have. That's going to help you make your tabs. If you don't, not everybody has a envelope maker. I have the 1, 2, 3 punch board, which makes bows, and it also makes boxes. But the old one, well, I shouldn't say the old one because they still sell it. It just makes envelopes, and that's it. If you don't have one of these, all you need to do is take, it still can be done. All you need to do is take a ruler at the 3-inch mark, put a pencil mark, and at 1/4 inch, put a pencil mark. Okay? 3-inch and 1/4 inch. And then with this, take your scissors, and you can do one of two things. You can either take a 1/4 round and round it if you have one. Like, let's say I would have this piece here. I could add it there and round off this piece here. It wouldn't, once it's cut, you wouldn't have to cut it down. And then here, if you go 1/4 inch and you go down, you will need to take all this piece off, up to that, like this. And then if you wanted to round off that corner, it becomes a tab. I kind of did it quick there, but you'll get what I mean. Or, you know, this makes you a tab also. And if you can't reach it with your punch, you can either leave it straight or just take your scissors and cut it in an angle like this from 1/4 inch down this way, and then you have your tab this way. Okay? You don't need to have all the tools. Not everybody can get everything, but it doesn't mean you can't do it just the same. All right? Now, if you do have a punch board, we'll go back to the original. The punch board, you will take your cardstock and you will set it up for the 3. Let me get a little closer here to show you what I mean. You're going to put the long end, the long piece here, not the short one, but the long one. You are going to put it on the 3-inch mark right here, okay? And then you're going to punch. Now you're going to bring back your cardstock, and I have a line here because it's for the bow guide, but that little notch right here where on every envelope punch has one, line it up to that and push down, and you have your tab. Now all you need to do is take a cutter, and we're going to cut all the way there. But for now, we're just going to punch everything out so we'll have it ready for the next step instead of going back and forth. So we're going to need 2 like that, which is going to be 2 right, number 3, and on that notch, and I punch. Okay, these are going to be my right tabs. Now to make your left tabs, if you want all right tabs, just keep going. But what we're going to do in this particular book, we're going to do a right tag, pardon me, a left tab, a right tab, and a center tab. So we're going to do 2 of each. So right now we did 2 left ones. What we're going to do now is we're going to do 2 more, exactly the same. 3, and a notch. This is exactly the same as these 2 lefties. But if you take your cardstock and fold it the other way, it ends up being your right one. The right one. Okay? Can you see the difference here? I did exactly the same thing, but all I did was take it and flip it over. So now I need one more on that side. So I'm going to take another piece of cardstock, add it on the number 3 line, push it down, bring it to the notch, push it in, and then I take my cardstock. It's supposed to be like this, but I'm going to flip it and fold it the opposite way, and I end up having the other side tab. It's that simple. So now we're going to do our center one. And the center one is exactly done the same, except you are going to now set your cardstock, which is again the long piece, okay? But you're going to set it at 2 and 2. The middle tab will be down at 2 3/4. So right here, 2 3/4. And for those of you who do not have a punch and you want to do it by hand, just do the same thing. Measure 2 3/4, put a line, and then put a line at 1/4 inch here and cut it out. Okay? So we're good at 2 3/4, punch, and then we're going to note, for those of you cut, just put a line at 2 3/4. You're going to flip it over, okay? Flip it over, and you're going to put it at 2 3/4 again, and you're going to punch. This is your middle tab. So for those of you who are cutting with scissors, just measure 2 3/4 this way, 2 3/4 that way, a line here, this comes off, and this is your center tab. I hope I didn't confuse you there. Okay, so now we need one more. So now I'm going to go at 2 3/4, punch, flip it over, 2 3/4, and punch. And now I just need to take this away. Done with this piece. I'm going to put this away. I don't need that. So now all we need to do is cut off the excess. So what do we have? We have, where's my cardstock here? Okay. So what do we have for you guys? We have, what did I do with them? Right here. Okay. I have so much stuff on my desk. All right. So now we have 1, 2, right hand punch. We have 1, 2, left hand punch. We have 1, 2, middle punch. So for me, this is how I want them laid out. When I open my book, I want the top one first, I want the middle one second, and I want the last one third. For ease, I'm going to set it up like so in order to cut it out. So now I take out my cutting board, and this is what we do, guys. We're going to set it up here. You're going to take your piece, set it right under your score line, and the way I set it up is I just push it down just to the edge here. I can see where that, you can't see it on camera, I don't think. Here's my little, here. I don't know if you can see this, but right here, I can barely see the cut right there. So if I put my cardstock way in the back, I'm going to back up the camera so you can see a little better. There you go. So I have it all the way down here, and this is like, oh, I would say on a, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5.5 inches is where your little lip is right here. I'm going to cut it up to that, and you can feel it. You can feel it let go because there's nothing left. And then you can pull it out, and you have your tab. Okay? If you're using your scissors, just draw a straight line from the edge of your cut right straight down to the end, and you should be fine. So here is I'm going to do the same thing. Cut all the way up, and you can feel it release the cardstock. And I have my other one. And you're going to, for the center, you're going to do the same thing. Set it up, but now it's going to be about not quite 2 inches. No, it's 2 plus 2 inch plus 1/8, 2/8 approximately, but go by what you see. Flip it, go down, and you can feel your blade right at the edge, and then pull it up. I don't know if you could hear that, but you can hear when it releases. That's my centerfold right there. So we're going to do all 6 pieces exactly the same. So I'm going to cut out that piece. I'm going to measure it like so. Now if you want to be real ambitious, you can pull your cutting, because you can feel where the other edge is, and go straight out and do 2 cuts in one instead of flipping it over. That's entirely up to you. If you're comfortable to do that, then it saves you a step. But if not, just take the time to measure it down and have a nice straight cut, and it'll look just like a file folder. Just like a file folder. I think this is such a neat thing to do, because there are so many things you can do with these file folders. Okay, so I'm all done. That is that easy. And I have my 2 right, my 2 center, and my 2 lefts. And these are going to be set into my journal. Okay? Or a photo album, or whatever you decide that you want to do. So our next step is going to be adding these in here. So get your score tape out, your adhesive, because we're going to start adding them in to our journal. Okay, so we are ready to attach our file folders. So the first thing I suggest is put your file folders in order that you want them in your book, from the front to the back. Okay? Then you're going to put some adhesive on each of the little, I don't know what you would call them there, where you're going to put your pages. Only on one side, though. Okay? Then when you remove the tape, you'll grab your first folder and you'll align it with your piece so it can fold. See? You end up with your first file folder. Now, the way I want mine is I don't want 2 front, 2 backs, and I want a front, a middle, and a back. Front, middle, and back, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to add on this one here. Try not to add them hard down on the floor. If you can just lift it a bit on the crease, it won't make your flipping so hard to maneuver, like when you get to fold them after a bit. Okay? So what I mean by that is that if you put it straight down on the bottom here, it'll just make it a little stiffer to flip around your pages. So I just add mine very lightly to the bottom. That's what I do. I find it helps, but it's entirely up to you. There's no wrong way of making it. I guess once you know the process of putting it together, then it's kind of like, well, this little tip helped you do this because I did it this way and it helped me. And maybe for you, it won't annoy you at all. For me, it annoys me when I can't flip my pages the way, I'd like to, or if the hinge becomes a little detached or something. I don't like it. I find that it's so much better. Okay, what did I do here? I'm talking and I'm not paying attention, guys. I've said to you, put your that's going to be fun to take off. Put your folders in order, and I retrieved mine and I didn't organize it right. What a punishment. Okay, now we're back on track. We are back on track. I want to thank everybody who subscribed to my channel. I'm new at this, Not new at crafting, but new at, definitely new at YouTubing. And I'm learning as I'm going along, but, you know, to make better videos or whatever. But I really appreciate your support. If it wasn't for your support, I probably would not have started. As a matter of fact, it's one lady by the name of Kendra Giddham that encouraged me. She asked me if I had a YouTube channel because she saw one of my tutorials on one of our Facebook group. And anyway, it's because of her. There you go, guys. There is my book. And you guys should have exactly the same thing. When you open it, this is the way it should be. So now our next step is going to be to decorate these things. And I am going to get my supplies out while you guys get yours. Okay, so then, as I said earlier, I'm going to use this Apothecary Emporium by EcoPark paper. And bat wings to be used by certified wizards only. That's cute. But it's a beautiful pack. It's the first time I open it. I've had it for a little bit. But look at the beautiful cutout on the cover. So it's not a lost, which is unusual because usually it's just a white piece. Look, I don't know if you can see that. Let me back up the camera a bit here. I'll share this with you. Look at the beautiful paper. Nice, nice heaviness. Dictionary pieces. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I hadn't looked at it. But, oh, this is awesome. This is beautiful. This is going to make a nice, nice journal. It's still available, I know, because I've seen it. And I've only bought it, I think I bought it last spring or something like that. So look at that. I like that. Really, really like that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Quite a few pages. Quite a few. Be no problem making this journal. That is for sure. Nice, nice, nice. Nice, nice, nice. And these are stickers. This is awesome. So I am going to use this in order to decorate my cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to cover this. And I'm going to cover this with my regular cardstock. The reason being is that I want to color all the page. So I am just going to adhere a piece of cardstock, the size, the measurement size. I'll cut up a piece for the front and the back is 5.5 inches. We'll cover this piece here. We'll cover my cover inside of my cover. And the same thing for the back. It'll cover the back. So let's cut out two pieces of 5.5 and 5.5 inches, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I've cut two pieces of cardstock to match at 5.5 by 8.25. And 8.5 quarter. And now, because I'm putting it on here, I don't need to have, it's not really going to hold anything, so you don't have to use a heavy-duty piece of score tape or whatever. Your glue gun, your glue, not glue gun, but your, yeah, glue gun would work too, I suppose. But as long as you have, I'm just going to use my regular piece here. As long as you do all the sides and everything, you should be just super great. Super, super, super great. Like this. It makes it a beautiful finish. There you go. And now we're going to do the other side. The other side here, the flip side. And we're going to do that one. Like this. Then after we do this one, we're going to work on covering those tabs and the file folders. Alrighty, we have it all right here. And I'm just going to tuck that in on the edge. Make sure my corners are tucked in real good. And there. So I have my two covers are done. They're well adhered, well attached. And now I have a fully orange book. But it's going to look some sweet once it's all done. Okay, now I'm going to take a piece of my paper, and you can take a piece of whatever you have. It's totally up to you, the one that you enjoy using. I think I'm going to grab one of these for now. This is a two-sided paper, and I'm going to do my tab. Now, if you remember, our card was, had it cut down to 8 1/4, and no, to 11 by 8 1/4, I should say. I'm sorry. And then we had it folded at 5 1/4, I believe, if my memory serves me right, correct. So we want to add a piece in here, and we want to add a piece in here, and we want to add a piece in here, and we want to add a piece in there. Because if you remember, this piece is cut. Okay? So the cardstock goes a little bit like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1/4 of an inch off the sides to fit onto this to have an orange ridge. So if this is measured at 8 1/4, I am going to cut it at 8 inches. Okay? So I'm going to take my cutting board out, and I'm going to cut this at 8 inches. Use whatever paper that you decided to use. Just cut it at 8 inches, like this. Now, 8 inches will give me this piece here across, which is 8 inches across. Now, let me see. So if this is at 8, 5, let's see if I can figure this one out easily. 8 inches will bring me across this way, leave me 1/4 of an inch on each side. And I would like to have it at I'd like to have it at 4 1/2. So I'm going to cut this at 4 1/2. If I cut this at 4 1/2, I believe that this should fit comfortably into this flap here. Not the one with the tab, but the other one. Let me turn it around because I have my front. This is the front of my journal here. Okay? So this should fit really, really well in this. It'll give me 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So you'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 pieces of 4 1/2 by 8. So if you cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you'll need 12 pieces of those because you have 2 sides. So let's cut 12 pieces of 4 1/2 by 8, and we will be back. Okay, so now we have our pieces. We have 12 pieces of 4 1/2 by 8 to fit in our book here and cover the front parts of the file folder. And on the opposite side. I'm going to put those away. Now I want to cut up my pieces to go on the file folder inside here. So the width of that piece is it should be the same as the other one, which is 8 1/4. So we're going to cut 8 across. And for this one, where the fold is, to the tip here, on the top, is 5 1/2. Let me retract that. Let's go here. To the top of this piece here is 5 3/4. I'm sorry. So we're going to cut at 5 1/2. So here we have 5 1/2 by 8 to cover these pieces. So 5 1/2 by 8, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So again, we need 12 more pieces of 5 1/2 by 8. So let's cut that up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now with the pieces that you just cut up, 8 1/2, 8 inches long by 5 1/2 across, you should have 12 pieces there. What you're going to do is you're going to take your envelope punch and you're going to do exactly the same thing as you did to make your folders in the journal. You're going to put it at the 3 mark, punch, and then go down to the mark here and punch. And what this is going to do is, because you cut it a little bit shorter, you'll be able to, and you're going to cut this piece, it'll stand and it'll sit just a little lower than, I don't know if you can see that, it'll sit just a little lower. So we are going to do all our 12 pieces with tabs again. So if you can remember, if you remember right, we have a 3" and we have a notch. And if those of you who want to do it with scissors, go right ahead, do it with scissors, and you will have the exact same thing as what we have. So I need 4 of those, and I want different ones, so I'm going to go here. I don't know if you're following what I'm doing, but I'm making tabs again, single-sided, to put on the file folders, but I'm making them 1/4 inch smaller to give it some form. So I have 4 like this. Now I'm going to do 4, but on the left-hand side. So in order to do the left-hand side on these, it's okay if they're double-sided, but if you're using a single-sided paper like this, flip your page over and start at 3" and then pull it over and do the notch. That will give you your tab for this side. If you're using a double-sided one like this, that's fine too. But remember, the side that you're going to flip it on is the side that's going to go down. So in other words, if I do my 3" here and clip it here, this is the side that's going to show. If I want the opposites, if I want this to show, I need to do it on this side. All right? You guys have that? So let's do it. You're going to need 4 of these. So 1, 2, 2, and I'm going to go 3. Oops. 3. And 4. Okay? This is my 4. Now I'm going to do my center one, which I'm going to do 4 again. Now the center one, if you remember, we did it at 2 3/4. So I punch, I flip it over, put it at 2 3/4, and I punch again. Gives me my center tab. Okay, so 2 3/4, 2 3/4, 2. Doesn't matter what side you do it on these because the tab is in the center, so there's no adjusting on the page more than that. And one more, 2 3/4, and 2 3/4. There. Now, if you remember what we did, the next step over is we took our cutting board and cut off the edges because you want it to be straight out. So now you can take your, fell overboard, sorry for the noise. Now you're going to take your punched cards and you're going to cut off the edges like we showed you a while ago. You can feel the emptiness here, and then there I have my center. So do that for all pieces and we'll be right back. Okay, so now I have 12 pieces of this, and I have 12 pieces of tabs. Now we're going to take our book out again, and we could have done this before, but I did it because I forgot. So you could have done this before you added it on the book, but I forgot. So what you can do to give it a little bit of oomph, as per se, is you can round off the corners on one side only of your journal. So just round off each corner. That makes 12 of them. And it's not hard, but it would have been a lot more convenient had you done it before adding them on, because it works better when it's loose in your hands. And when you get to the center ones, you do both sides. Both sides to the flat ones. Oops. And one side. And like this. So did I miss some? Yes, I did. One side. I meant to say one side on the ones that have tabs. But the ones that don't have tabs, you do both sides. This is a centerpiece, so I do both sides on the one with the center tab. Obviously makes sense, doesn't it? And what do I have here? Is that correct? Is that done properly? I think so. This, yes. All right. And it doesn't matter what you have for a corner chomper, and it doesn't matter if you do it or not. If you don't do it, it just makes a square file folder and not a rounded corner one. I have no idea why I forgot that. But anyway, okay. It is done. No harm done to nobody. So if, there. So now we have all our sides, okay? This is our book. So we start adhering to the front of our journal. I want my tabs to start from the top to start off with. So my journal starts this way. This way, yes. So we are going to start by adhering our paper. In the first paper I'm going to adhere. You can do them all at once, or you can do them one page at a time. It's entirely up to you. What you need to do is take this, and I'm going to do one file folder to show you what I'm meaning. Fine. If it's a two-sided, take the side that you like, Add some adhesive. The important thing is to add adhesive to the sides, the edges, because you don't want the edges to lift. Like this. And then I always add a few in the center to stabilize it. And all you do is you add it to, you're wondering about the rounded corners. Yes, my friends, you round the corners. There you go. So now you added about 1/4 of an inch all the way going around your file folder. Now you're probably wondering, well, why didn't we do that before hanging it in the book? It's because that when you put it in your book, if you did it beforehand, you'd have to keep it high, but you want to make sure that you have a ledge and you're not, you know, if you come into complications, then you have something that is easy to work with versus if you put it on now and things would be hard. It's easier to do it like this, I think. That's what I think. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to add tape again to the sides. You know, ladies and gents, yeah, making these it's how you make them. If you do this first, do this last. It's totally up to you. Like today is my day for forgetting to rounding off the corners. That's me. You know, today is one of those days. But I'm not going to stop videotaping because I forgot. I'm normal. I'm just like you guys. I make mistakes. But in crafting, there's no mistakes that can't be fixed. And all they are is issues, and they're waiting to be straightened out. Okay, so now I have my two sides here all done up. And I have about the same amount of space there as I have here. Okay? So now I'm going to do the tab one. And I'll just do one, and I'll do the rest off camera to save on time, so I can show you what I mean. This is the left-hand side of the tab, which is here. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is, guess what, guys? I'm going to round off the corner. That's going to be my thing, my joke for the day. And I'm going to put adhesive on the tab for sure, and all the way around, like that. I mean, you know, not a genius to put, not rocket science to put adhesive on your things. But when you come to lay it down, again, you'll need to lay it down just a little bit. Oh, that sticks on my fingers. Just a little bit down on the tab. So you end up having, this is what you end up having. I don't know if you can maybe see it better like that. That's very pretty. Okay, so do the other side and do all remaining 5 folders, and we will be back. Okay, from this point, you should have something that looks a little bit like this after having cut and inserted all your covers, or you're decorating the front of your file folders. All right. Now, if you've used 12 by 12 paper like I did, it doesn't matter what theme, you should have about strips of 4 inches left. Use those. Those are leftovers, and they'll work well for this. Cut a piece of 3 inches by 8. 3 inches here by 8. Then you can do whatever you wish at this point. You can either leave it plain. We're going to create a pocket. You can cut it with decorative scissors all the way down, or use punch and all the way down. Make a fancy border. I'm going to use a punch. This is a Martha Stewart punch. don't know if it's still available. I've had it for quite a while, but the reason I'm choosing these is because I kind of like the fact that it's jagged edges. And the reason I start from the center is because I want my edges here to kind of finish the same. So if I take my edges, if I take and I start in the center of my punch, my edges should finish all the same. And I don't know if you must be aware of how you use these. All you do is they're pretty much all the same. You just align your previous cut into the lines here, like that, and you push. And there, if I can show you here, let me grab a piece. See how the edges, they're pretty close. And that's what I particularly like. So I'm just going to show you one, and then I'll go on to the remainder of my pockets. But what you're going to do is you're going to add some tape to the edge, or glue, but make sure that it's strong enough. You don't want it to come apart. I always like to use, where there's going to be ins and outs per se, I like to use tape. I find tape is a very strong adhesive. For this type of tape, or a red line or anything like that, is very strong adhesive, and especially if you're going to give it away, you don't want it to fall apart on the person you gave it away to. You know, they'll open it up and all the pages will come out. Trust me, I talk by experience when that comes, and it's kind of embarrassing because I don't sell my stuff. I give it out, and it's happened to me. And here's a pocket, and this is not necessarily finished, guys, because I will maybe from here dress it up even more. So all I do here is I add it to the bottom, of my, I'm doing the wrong end. Oh, good thing I picked that up. I'm just going to add it to the beginning of the binding here, and I'm going to add it on, and here I have a pocket ready to go. Make sure that it's in here really, really well, and I have a pocket. That will be even dressed up even more than that at the end. So let's do them all. We have 6. You do every page. For 6, we do every other page. You can do every page if you like, but I was going to do a different pocket in the next one. So on the flat edge pieces, we are going to make a pocket like this. So to every flat edge, you can add a piece of that 6 by 3. Finish the edges if you like, and add it to the bottom. And I will be back when I'm done. Okay, so now you should have adhere all your pockets to every second page like that. So every second page has a pocket. We're not done. There'll be some more embellishments as we go along, but this is where we're at. So every second page has a pocket. Now, when you cut your 3 by 8 off of the leftovers, you should have a 4 by 4 square left over. Okay, I'm just one to use all the leftovers in a kit. I find that's why we have it. So what I want, this is we're going to make a pocket out of this too. So we're going to open this one up, and on the front part of the tab piece, not this one here, but the front part of the tab, we are going to adhere this, and before we adhere it, we're going to bring it down like that, okay, to add as a little pocket. Have you got that? Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take the back part of our tab. Because there's room here, we can take this piece, put it down, and then bring it to about, I would say 1/2 inch to the side, and this is all going to be down like that, and this won't bother nothing because there's a gap right here. Okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. So with all the pieces, you have 6 pieces, 4 by 4. We are going to take it and bend it over to about 1/2 inch. Doesn't matter what side, or if you only have one side, whatever. This would look better if you did have 2 sides though. And you can do different things for this. You can either take and glue it there, like that. Or if you want, you can, let me get my good little things here. You can take some brads. Any brads will do. If you want to stay within your color scheme, that's up to you. But you can take this, punch a little hole through it, and you can do that with crocodile. You can do that with a little pick in the center like this. That'll work. Take a brad that you like. There you go. I'm going to grab this one. I'm just going to put it in like that. Close it up like that. And that secures this little piece here. So now I'm going to add it here and it'll stay. Get what I mean? I'm going to put some adhesion here and here. Now we have a pocket for this. So do it on all back sides of the tabs so you have room to play with it here. And we'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to work on a cover to fit on this journal for Halloween. So it's already all wrapped. I just want to make a top for it, like to fit as a cover. And what I've decided is I'm going to work with a bit of mixed media for this. So what I'm going to use is one of Tim Holtz's brick collection here, and his stencil, and it's from Stamper Anonymous. And I have some modeling paste here. Any modeling paste will do. I have Curry, which is a Canadian company, because I do enough mixed media that I just do a fair amount. So I buy it more in bulk. This one here is a little thicker, but it doesn't matter on the thickness. Get some paste, some modeling paste, and I am going to use this and just kind of add on some paste, and I'm going to kind of splatter it a little bit this way. Just nothing out of the ordinary. Just kind of I want to have it rough, because brick normally is not flat. It does have some ridge, and this will dry exactly the way it is. Okay, so I am going to go and grab a wet one here, because it dries fairly quick. And by drying fairly quick, I mean it gets hard. So it's a lot easier to wash when it's wet. Okay, with no plan in mind per se, I'm going to work with what I have here, see what I can turn out. This is Black Soot, and it's the acrylic paint dabbers from Tim Holtz. And I'm just going to, I want my bricks to be black, so I would like to put a little bit of black in there, like that. And then I'm going to take, also I have here walnut stain in the same thing, in the same color, in the same type of paint, that I'm going to rub in here. I'm going to rub inside, and then I also have a bit of white that I'm going to add in here. Now I'm not done here. It may look kind of messy, but I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to play with this. It's going to make a muddy type of gray, but that's okay. because I want it to have an old type of look. And the only way I can do that is by playing with my paints until I'm happy. And that usually requires on and off and on and off. That's why they call it mixed media, because it's not always the same thing. Now I'm adding more black because I want it to go into the grooves of the brick like that until I'm pretty happy with that. I am pretty happy with that. Now what you could do too, I didn't do it, but a lot of times people will find themselves gessoing the paper to seal the fibers into the paper. I'm not going to do that much playing with the water, so it's not going to affect me a whole lot. I'm going to add just a couple of sprays of shimmer, but it's more to add a bit of fluid and bring a little shine back up. Until I'm happy with it. Now I'm really liking the way it's starting to come out. It's what I had in mind. I don't know if you can see that, but you're starting to see the brick come out. Now remember, this is Halloween, so therefore Halloween has a bit of old black, different kind of things on it. What else could I add on to this? I have some weathered wood here. Maybe I can put a few drops of that just to see how it's going to come out. And let's see what this does. Let me see. Yep, I like that. That's kind of giving me what I want. So now that this is particularly done, I'm going to take a second and I'm going to dry that, and I'll be right back. Now, so I'm pleased so far with the way the brick is coming out. I really like that. At this point, I went out and I found one of my Dories. This is a Dories embossing folder, sorry, and it's a spider web. And I'm going to use that as a template to take my Versamark and print it on there, something I haven't done before. So we're going to see how that is going to work out. I am going to put some Versamark onto the raised part of the image, not the one that's inside, but the raised part. I'm going to kind of use it as a stamp, I guess is what I'm going to attempt to do. Whether it turns out that way, we are not sure. But I'm going to do this like this, and I would like to have some of that onto this part here, like this. So, having wanted this to do that, so I'm going to push it in with my hand because I don't want to, this wasn't thought through, so yep, it's gone onto that. I can see it. So now I'm going to take my some embossing powder, and I am going to emboss this. Now, how I'm going to emboss it, that's going to be not quite sure, but I can see. I don't know if you can see. Yes, I think you can see it on the camera. You see all the lines that are dark? That's my Versamark that did this. I think I'm going to take and put it, this is black, so I'm going to add some black powder on here. And I did not use beforehand. Oh, it come out okay. Look, can you tell? It's nice, eh? I like that. So I hadn't used, what I was going to say is the powder to not cling, to have so much electricity and cling to that. And so I was kind of afraid of how it was going to turn out. For your information, this is Stampin' Up! Black powder. but any black embossing powder will do. And I am going to turn you off because I don't want this to blast in your ears for a few moments while I heat emboss the spider web. Okay, so I really like this, the way this turned out. This is really, really turning out the way I am creating it because it's not the way I envisioned it. I didn't even think about what I was going to do with that. So I went into my little box of treasures that I had from last year, stuff that I kept from last year and so forth, and took some of the stuff out to see if there's anything that I would like to use. I have some of kind of the old cotton. I think I might just use some of that. I have a witch that I could have in the background if I wanted to, I suppose. I also have these little sequins, Halloween sequins. I have a hand. I thought this was cute from last year, something I had left over. I have some Halloween ribbon. I thought I had, but I guess I don't. I thought I had some web, but I don't have that. I only have this. So how are we going to dress this up? Well, I'm going to tell you. It can be done many, many, many different ways. This is like a brick, so I know I want a spider, which I do have here. I should have said that. I do have a spider, so I want the spider to come down. I do have some borders, but these borders I'm going to create, I think, a border around the circumference of this piece right here. Or do I want to add a piece across here? Could do that. I have different pieces. Let me see. Would I want more spider web? No, I don't think so. Don't think so. What do I have here? I have the dots. Oh, I have, I didn't see that. I got this. This would be kind of cool. If I fussy cut that, and I could lay that right on the side there, on the moon. What do you think? What do you guys think? Huh? If I fussy cut that, I could cut it out here a bit and there. I'm going to work at that in a few minutes when I'm off camera. And I think I'm going to fussy cut that and put that on there because I think it would be kind of cool. I think it would be really, really cool. Bear with me, and I'm going to fussy cut that, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so what I did is I fussy cut that tree, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like the way it came out. So I painted this area with some more weathered wood and some white picket fence, and just to kind of defer the black brick. Now what I'm going to do is I had forgot I had these, but I'm going to play with some of my what you call decoupage that I have, and the stickers that came with this. I had adhere that spider on there just for fun. So let me see what kind of things that we can build with this. I like the size of the tree, I really do, and I can gather all this to make it look really, really fancy. I like that. What else could we have here? We have the crow, so we could title this as the Under Your Spell. Under Your Spell, like this. And then I could add maybe Under Your Spell. Let's do some Under Your Spell. Well, we could, there are many different ones. I could add a little jar here with a bat. I could add that right on the side here. That would look cute. Coyote. We could also add the spider. It seems a little oversized, but that's okay. We're going to add the spider at the end here. And what else could we add here? Fog bounds. We have different things here. Oh my goodness gravy. We could have a bat coming down. Let's say about there. Oh, we have an orange bat. I've never seen an orange bat, but hey, we'll use it. And I really like this piece here, but I don't feel that it fits 100%, so maybe we'll use it inside. You know what? I kind of like it just like that. Just like that for now. So what I'm going to do is, now that that's in there, I'm going to take my gelato markers, or whatever you call them, my Faber-Cast pit markers, and I'm going to play with what I have to make it come out. So I'm going to take my black here, marker, and I'm just going to follow it down like that, just to kind of give it some of that spooky feeling. I like that. And it's so easy. And those fabric, these are pit markers, and they're water-based. And I have a big set. You don't need to have a big set. I find they're very, very nice, because what I like is when I'm doing mixed media and stuff, I like to play a lot with my fingers, like work my fingers into the creation. I don't know why. I'm not afraid of dirtying my hands. My nails look like something that went potato digging once I'm done, because they're so black. But it really doesn't matter to me. That's why I don't get my nails done, because they wouldn't last long. But anyway, point I'm getting at is I love these markers, and I bought them, I believe, on Amazon. If I'm right, I've had them for quite a while, and a full set like this at that particular time seems to me was about $50. But you, like I said, you don't have to have a full set like I have. It's not necessary, but if you can, they'll last you a lifetime, really, unless you only do painting with that, and which is not necessarily recommended that way. But yeah, it's super, super nice to have, you know. I use them a lot. I have used them more time than none. I keep them handy because of that reason. And they're just so fun. They just bring everything right out. So let's say I want to have, let me see, what color is this? I would like to have maybe a little, maybe a little bit of this here and there. And then just mix it with a little bit with the black. Have a little bit of blue in there. And it's nighttime, so my fingers are black, so it's mixing with the black, which I like. I don't have to add any extras. Mixed media is fun because it's kind of a dirty way to paint, I guess. And yes and no. It's the end result is so gratifying. There's no harsh rules for mixed media. You just create and basically throw things together and hope for the best. But you know, it's just a lot of fun. So there, I have a little bit of blue there. I think I'd like to have a little bit of yellow too in that tree. Maybe a little bit of lime yellow. Why do I like that? It's just because it's a little bit of a night shine. So nothing crazy, just a little bit of light yellow for sake of having a hue of nighttime in there. Okay, I can leave that like that. Now I'm going to come to the under your spell theme here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to give it a nice shadow, so it'll feel like when you look at it that it's sticking out rather than being just stuck on there. And because stickers, you know, they if applied properly and add a little bit of touch to it, can look almost like you'd have it risen, you know, and it doesn't look just like a piece of paper that has glue in the back and it's adhered to the base. Poor old spider's still in my way, but I can manage without it. I can manage around it because it's black. So there you go. I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. I have a little bit of behind the little guy here. He should be sticking out a little bit more. That's all you do with this kind of paint, with these pens. They're nice to have if you're going to do this kind of painting, and you don't, like I said, you don't need to buy. If I was needed to buy a color, if I was only going to buy certain colors, I guess I could suggest to you that the Pitt artist pens with a big brush, Faber-Castell, I would get black. I would probably get this, I call it raw umber, but it's brown, I think. The name of the color, Nugget is the name of the color. I'd probably get brown and that. And if you were going to go into real colors, I would probably, I don't know, I like a gray, but I've always been a neutral person to highlight and do stuff like that. I might add a bit of color. But I like a gray, a black, a raw umber, or within this it's called Nugget. You know, that kind of color, because then you can highlight all around whatever you're working on without having any, not issues, but you can match anything, you know, and you can play with your shadows and so forth. And yeah, it turns out to be really, really, really nice. So yeah, that brick come out really nice. I like that brick a lot. I'm not sure if I wouldn't like it more of more white. Yeah, more white on there. I'm not quite sure there. I'm going to take a good close look at that after I figure. Sometimes less is best, and I tend to do that. Sometimes I'll go over it again and again, and I think, oh, I should have left it as it was. But that's what mixed media is, because the next day when I get back at it, I'm thinking, oh, that's not so bad. It's always the way, right? Okay, I like the way it's turning out there. And I always have this little, little bottle of water here that I normally spray my fingers with, or my brush or whatever. It saves me from going right away. I'm going to take some of that off under the hunter. I want this to stand out here, which is another thing you can do. But once it dries, you can't wipe it off. This is a permanent type of marker. Yeah, I like that. I really do like that. So, I'm not saying I wouldn't like a little bit of white, more white. Let me see if I can maybe dab some here and there on my bricks. Oop, 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 that's a little much. My, just a little much. Where's my paper towel? There's a little bit more paper towel. It's really not hard. You know, it's just a matter of having fun. Having fun. Fun. I'd like to see this. Splatter, I guess, is what I'm looking for, but I could do splatter by putting some of this on a block and adding water and then flickering with my brush. But, I like that. Yeah, that's enough. Enough. And, let me see, do I need any more black? You're going to say, Yvonne, and when are you going to stop? I'll stop when I feel that I'm totally happy with everything. I know it sounds weird, but you just know when you get there. You just know. Yep. Now I'm going to edge all this black. Although I am going to put a frame around it, but I'm still going to edge it black. All the way going around, and the reason of that is that it'll create like a frame around. Now, if you don't have this, just use anything you have that's black. In worst case scenario, use your Sharpie marker. I'm sure you have one of those in there. Now, as you'll see, guys, I did not prepare this. I have not given it a coat of gesso. I'm working right onto the cardstock. It's a 65-pound cardstock, and you know, it hasn't peeled on me or anything like that. I'm quite pleased with the way things are coming at so far. So I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to withhold what I'm looking for. I'd like to see something here, but I'm not quite sure what I want. I don't know if I want a saying, if I want a little bit of a lacy piece like this. No, I find that's too wide, too wide. I could cut it down. I think I should. Well, we have different things here. Let me see what I have here. I could put so many days to Halloween, lizard legs, boil and bubble, spooky, trick or treat, eyes of Newton, haunted, under the spell, and then I'm going to add haunted right here. I like that. Haunted right there, and my handy dandy marker again. And I'm just going to add it on and play with it until I'm happy. Yeah, like that. Almost looks like it's a sign. It is a sign. There. Now I think I like it now, even better. That's the spider web. He's in bad shape. And I'm going to frame this and see what happens. Should I put some shimmer on this? What do you guys think? Do you think shimmer would look nice on this? Could maybe look nice on that. Not sure, do I want that, or do you think that'll make it look too weird? Well, here it goes. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. I'm going to take my hair dryer, not hair dryer, but my embossing gun for this, and I am going to blow this and be right back. And I'm going to get you off camera so you won't have to hear that what I was trying to finish up is that you won't have to hear the heat gun going. But I shut you off before. I am going to cut the edges here, like this, and like this. And I'm going to bring back my I'm going to put a piece of paper there, I think, because it's a little dirty. And I don't want to dirty my book too much. So this is the book. This would be my front. And I would add this in here. I do like that. I really do like that. But I'd like to have a frame around it. I'm going to cut myself a piece of black cardstock and frame this, is what I'm going to do. And I think that'll make a big difference right going across. So let me grab a piece of black cardstock. Okay, so I have that black piece of cardstock. So the first thing I need to do is take a measurement of this, which would be my ruler. My ruler would tell me that this is 5.5, I believe. Oh, 5 1/4. 5 1/4 by 8. So I wanted something a little bigger than that. I want it to kind of sit like that. So I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to cut this at 8 and, oh, I'm going to cut that at 5. Five and a half, I believe. Start by cutting it at 6 to see what, I didn't do the, it's 5 and, okay, so I'm cutting a background of 5 3/4 by 8, 8 and a half, and I believe I'm going to be cutting off here, nothing else, unless I'm doing things on a whim here, so I haven't taken any measurements ahead of time, but if my memory serves me, this is going to fit okay here. I'm going to cut probably 1/4 inch off of this, 1/4 inch off the edge. That's how I roll. I roll pretty much as I see it. I'm not a very plan type of person, but this is the way it comes out, and it comes out really nice with a black border all the way around. So I'm going to put some tape on this, add it to this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can tell, I've added adhesive all the way and on the bottom and whatnot, and I'm going to add this as center as I can on this piece of cardstock. I believe I got it. Okay. So this is going to make a big difference. And now I'm going to add it to my cover here, but I want it to be up a bit. So I'm going to add some, what am I going to use? I think I'm going to use these for mounting tape. And I've had this roll forever. I bought this, again, I was on Amazon. I believe at the time, oh, it was big, and it's 3M, double-sided tape, mounting tape, and I think I had paid like $50 for that, and that was like, oh my gosh, I've had that 3-4 years maybe. It was, it must be 3-4 years. I had bought it when I was doing a lot more shaker cards, and it came in really handy. So it's going to be easier for me to add it like that. I'm just going to bump up to this, bring it back here, like that. And I may want to take and add 2 layers of this, just because I find it doesn't stand out as much. The only reason I'm using it is because I like the length of it. I like it when it's in full length. I've never bought the sheets of it though, but this is how it works. So I'm just going to remove these, and I'm going to add some to the center also. I'm going to remove these like that, and I'm going to add a piece across like that. And I'm going to use a couple more pieces so it won't sag in the middle. And I'll check if I'm happy with the height. So I enjoy doing stuff like this because I'm always amazed of the things you can do even if you don't think about it. And see, I don't find that's a lot to be mounted over. So I'm going to add another strip of it going around. It'll be double the height. I think I'll be much happier with that. Much happier, I believe. I know you're probably thinking, well, that's a lot of mounting tape to use up, but it's by preference. You know, it is a little bit more, but there's so much in that roll that it's absolutely crazy. And I believe you can buy these by the small rolls at the hardware store or maybe at your local dollar store. I'm not quite sure. You know, you might have 5, 6 feet in there. I had a lot in here. I don't want to say a number, but it was like many, 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 many feet. You know, so you pull a string off and you don't even notice it that it's gone on the roll. For a long time, I didn't even have a drawer big enough to leave it in. I had to leave it out because it wouldn't fit in a drawer. It was too wide. So they never thought of us crafters when they made this. You should write a note to them and complain. No, I'm just kidding. You don't want to do that. All right. There are so many now that are out. There's so many 2A foam tape. You can get them at your local dollar store now. And if it works, right? Everybody at the beginning don't know where to find it when something is discovered, and everybody goes and buys what they can, where they can, and there. I think I like that height a lot better. I'm going to cut this little piece. I don't like the way it's hanging here. And I believe, I think I'm going to take my black marker and just kind of, just to make sure that I have no white. I do not like the white showing. That was one of my beef when the white dimensional tape came out. I didn't like it if it showed on a small item. I didn't like the white showing. When they came out with the black, then they had my heart. Okay, I think that does the trick. All right. A lot easier to fix beforehand. Okay, so this is the front of my book. And this is how I am going to add this on. And who knows, I may add a bit of hardware later. But for now, this is going to be the front of my book. I really like it. I really, really, really like it. It's really super neat. Okay, so this is how you do it. And this is how I do it. And I really like the way it turned out. I really do. You could add more textiles to it by adding fabric. You could do so many things. You could shimmer up the border. You could add more of, I don't have any more of, I could probably glue that on, which I just might. Oh, I could add, I never thought of this, but I could add one of my little witches in the background here. Never thought of doing that, but that could work. Like this, she'd be pretty going around there. There's so many things, so many things that you could do, and it'll give you dimension to your book and all kinds of good stuff. Anyway, I'm going to add a ribbon to this, a black ribbon, to put it there. And this is Yvonne signing off. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it gives you some inspiration to get your Halloween things going. Bye-bye.